steering wheel. Lots of steering wheel, yeah. Give him steering wheel. Hey, steering wheel. Somebody tell him to give it to him. Come on! Whoa!
Your leg, my please. Your leg.
How the f*** is that possible?
I'm driving like a grandma. Get that, Ralph? Did you hear me? From our radio. Ralph, acknowledge. Now, come on, close him down and kill him. We've got a lunatic on the track down that interstate.
Hello and welcome back inside the Park for May for podcast number 875. This is Todd.
No, Todd,
You
not
know
now.
why I've asked you
You
here.
must convince the villagers that I'm harmless.
That's exactly what I need you to do. Hello tonight to our Patreon supporters who are joining us live in the audience for this podcast. Hello to all of you. And hello to all of you watching or listening at home or wherever you might be listening to this. Tonight, for your kind consideration, we're going to cover Formula One news because that's what we do on off-race weekends. I would drag Paul in this, but he's in the great southern land down under in Australia for Bathurst, so I can't have Paul join us tonight. But my co-host, oh yeah, I got to go all the way to our nation's capital, nestled in our nation's capital, just on the outside actually, where she plies her skills as a master statistician and the owner of 3 cats. You know her. 4 cats. I did that last time. I keep thinking it's 3. The lovely, the redoubtable Grace. You know, I messed that up last time. I said 3 cats, and you had to correct
It's
me.
okay.
It's
Well,
terrible.
we have 4 cats, but I mean, we got the last 2 together. So,
Yeah.
oh, and now Levi is like sitting on all my cords. That's great. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, well, you know.
Good time. So hopefully, everything still sounds great. I don't know. No, we're good. We're good. Levi's joining us here apparently. for the
Well,
beginning of
that's
the
cool.
podcast.
He's got a strong opinion on these things.
Of course he does. His strongest opinion is, where's my food? Because he's up here and his food is downstairs. Like, so might as well not exist.
Okay. Well, I thought he was the same color as all the carbon fiber black, raw carbon fiber cars.
Close.
So, you know, just a little pinstripe of neon green and call it a day.
That's right. We could call him Stick F1. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
that's right.
Right. Oh my, we got news to cover tonight, Grace. And I'm going to start off on the news that's been all the talk all week, but actually
Sure.
isn't news. All right.
Right.
So if we're
Okay.
going to start at the very top, because all everyone's talking about is this whole Christian Horner issue and Red Bull. And I've read I just want to read you all some of the headlines and stories that I've read over the last couple of days regarding this issue. Here's some of the ones I think you guys are going to kick out of this. Horner sent you-know-what pics to a woman. Horner sexually harassed a woman. Horner is coercive and controlling, which I think is actually the allegation. Horner will lose his job. Horner was in a 10-hour meeting with corporate. Horner has lost backing of Taiwanese owner of Red Bull, as well as Didi's son. Horner has lost support of Helmut Marko. Horner's relationship with Jos Verstappen is ruined. Horner has lost relationship with Max. Horner has been suspended. Horner has been banned. Horner won't survive. Horner mistreated his first wife. Horner debacle. Could see Adrian Newey go to Ferrari, and much worse. Those are just some of the choice ones I've read over this past week when there is zero to talk about. And
What does it take to not be friends with Jos Verstappen anymore?
I don't know.
that
What
seems
would you
like
have to do?
That's what I'm saying. Like that, I don't know. Do you get a medal for that? That seems like I didn't know that was really possible.
Yeah, I don't know what you'd have to do to get on the bad side of Jos, you know?
I don't know. That seems something.
Or
But
Helmut.
you're right.
Or Helmut Marko.
Goodbye, good luck, and good riddance.
It's Helmut
Yeah,
talking about
especially 'cause
Christian.
The more I disagree with Helmut Marko, the more he thinks it's a good idea. So who knows, right?
Right.
I think that, yeah, no, you're right. There's been a lot of speculation, I guess, going on about
Yeah.
what's up with Christian Horner. But for sure. If he was in a 10-hour meeting, I don't even work that long. That seems terrible. 10 hours.
I don't think it was 10 hours. I think he was in the vicinity for 10 hours. I'd be very stunned if it was 10 hours. It must be said, though, that most of the major F1 news outlets are a little cautious with their headlines, and the most that they say is that he could lose his job. But honestly, all the rash of new F1 websites and blogs and other pop-up sports websites are just literally out of control with clickbait. It's unbelievable reading all this crap. Here's what we actually know, folks. We know that there was an employee who complained that his Horner's management style was coercive and controlling. There was an independent investigation by a third-party lawyer that took place last Friday. We have no details about the allegations, nor is there any decision yet with Red Bull, with some saying that it might be resolved before the car launch. Others say that it won't be. So that's actually what we know.
One or the other. It's like a week. It's either going to be resolved in a week or it will not be resolved in a week.
Either
correct
it is accurate allegations or they're not accurate. Either it resolved. I think the bottom line is we don't know anything, right? So everybody calm down. I had people send me messages. Oh my gosh, Adrian knew he's fed up and there's an exit clause and he's going to go to Ferrari. It's like, oh my gosh, wait, everybody just calm down. All right, let's just see what happens. And this is kind of what you get.
He's been fed up since McLaren. I think that's just his default state is fed up.
Yeah, I was talking to a guy that messaged me on Instagram, and we were talking a little bit about that. But the thing about it is, and you're right, Adrian Newey's been wanting to go do something other than cars for quite a while. It's just Red Bull coerced him and controlled him. See how I did that there? Maybe employee allegations are coming from Adrian. Maybe he feels coerced and controlled.
Maybe. And then I think that, and I'm sure that I don't know if his bike accident, that was near death or near death experience. I'm for sure thought he was going to die. So I can't, that must sharpens one perspective about how you want to spend,
Changes
your last,
things.
your life. So if he wants to go do boats or whatever, I think he would go do that. So,
I feel like, if he was going to make any change at all and leave Red Bull, it'd be doing something different. Or at least that's what he's always said in the past.
He doesn't have to be there. He's not like you and I. I have to work because I need health insurance. That is not why Adrian Newey is working, right? So he could just do whatever or stop doing all of it. I'm sure he would be fine, but.
And we mentioned this in the last podcast. When the allegations of coercive and controlling are left undefined, it leads to all kinds of accusations ranging from he's a tough boss to he sexually assaulted someone. I mean, it's just all over the map. And that's just nonsensical to comment or make up headlines about anything until we know more. And it's not a sure sign that Red Bull's losing key personnel either. I think we just need to be patient, let everything unfold as it unfolds, and we'll, talk about it then.
Yeah. Their car launch must be soon, though.
Yeah, this week.
In a week or so,
Well, it's well, wait a minute. What is it today? It is this Thursday.
Bye.
Thursday the 15th. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
So,
happy Valentine's Day, Christian Horner. You don't have a job anymore, right? I don't know.
Right.
But by the car launch, they have to have an answer because for sure that's when the media is going to have full tilt access to all of it. And so they have to come up with an answer, right? I think you would just want to do something so that's
all
not
they'll
your
talk
entire
about.
Car launch.
Yeah, you're right. That's all they're going to talk about. The press is all they're going to talk about as the car launch is to ask him about the allegations and all this stuff. This is all we're going to hear. Craig Slater, bless his little heart, he'll be in there, ruffling feathers and trying to get to the bottom of what the allegations are and all that stuff. So,
last year we were wondering if Stefano Domenicali was there or not. This year, a bit different.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But they got to get ahead of this. No,
go ahead, because you're right.
I was just going to say, I think that to me, is the most surprising is that Red Bull hasn't gotten out ahead of this.
Yeah, me too.
Like that, this is just, because every business has a when the crap hits the fan department, and then if the crap hits the fan, it's our job to clean it up. Well, the people cleaning it up aren't doing a good job. So I think that's the part. We don't know what the allegations are, but I can't believe this is still going on for another week and a half.
Yes.
And they haven't said anything or done anything or moved him or clarified his position. Red Bull hasn't come out and, how quick is Red Bull to come out with a statement about everything else, right?
That's exactly right, which is why last week when we were talking about it, I said that I was really stunned that Red Bull hadn't got out in front and set the narrative over this allegations of inappropriate behavior. And I said, that's a really, really vague term for a company the size of Red Bull to leave unattended, right? All companies that size have crisis PR management. And
100%.
All of them do, right? And so I was a little surprised. And this is why it leads me to think, with my tinfoil hat on, that there's a little more going on, and it might be at the board level, to be honest with you. Because why would Red Bull let this story sit out and fester for a week, week and a half without coming in and changing the narrative and setting the message? And they haven't done anything. And I find that
surprising.
Just shocking to me, because if it was any other company, be it Mercedes, Ferrari, or anything, they'd be out recrafting the narrative and message around this instead of letting it fester and create a residue for their own brand, right? And Red Bull is all about their brand. So that's why I think everything is not as it seems. I think it's a little odd that they haven't done anything.
And what must you think of your Christian Horner? You know what I mean?
Hung me out to dry here.
Exactly. Everything he's done for this company, and that he's the only team principal they've ever had, and this is how you treat me. I think I know. As much as I'm not want to defend Christian Horner on anything, I'd be also a little mad that you're just are you going to say something? You're just going to leave me out here?
Yeah. And the only reason I can think of, on the flip side, is maybe if the allegations are pretty serious, then, they don't want to go out and try to craft a narrative or jump to the Christian side because they're serious and they don't want the blowback post-revelation, right? So if they played everything down and got behind Christian before the revelation of what actually the allegations were about, if they're pretty serious or pretty egregious, then they look like they were, whitewashing the issue and covering, right? That's right. So that's the only reason I can think that they haven't been out in front. And if it comes out that, and I'm not saying it will, and I'm not marginalizing, but if it came out that he was he's a really difficult boss, wherever he's demanding, and he put unrealistic timeframes, well, okay, welcome to the working world, okay? But then I'll be stunned even more that Red Bull did nothing to craft the narrative.
That can't be the answer.
No, it can't.
He's a bad boss, can't be the answer.
No, that can't be the answer. If it truly was something a lot more egregious, then that'll make more sense. We'll see. We'll see.
It's weird. There's something fishy going on here.
That's exactly what I'm saying. The math is not adding up. Okay, let's talk about the other story that slipped under the radar of the Christian Horner debacle and all the car launches. But this is a clarification that I'm sure is going to make all of you really happy, is that they've tweaked the new sprint race weekend regulations.
Did they get rid of them?
No. And
that's the tweak I've been waiting for.
That was the tweak I wanted. Yeah,
that's the only tweak I wanted. You got rid of them.
Me too. Totally me too. So the FIA made changes for the six sprint weekends this year. And the biggest is that the cars are not going to be in park for May condition after FP1. So this means that the teams can just set up after the shootout and sprint, which occurs under an initial park for May session. And then the work begins with a second park for May condition that covers the main qualifying and the main race.
I think somebody just thought Crofty didn't have enough to, over-explain to us every weekend. Let's give Crofty some more to lecture us about.
Is that not confusing?
I don't even know what those things mean.
So,
I mean, I know what Parc Fermé means, and I know what, I know what the words you're saying, what those words mean, but I don't know how when you strung them together in 2 sentences, what that actually means for a race weekend.
do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
I do not.
So
I don't know.
So I think here's my read on this.
Okay.
So it's a little confusing. And imagine all of you people out there that have been watching Formula One, you kind of got the whole cadence down and all that. Imagine if you're like new to Formula One, trying to get your head around, okay, so wait a minute, what's happening? And who's in Parc Fermé and when and what? So what's going to happen here is that they're going to come out, they're going to have free practice 1. And then when they show up to the sprint qualifying, which I think they're calling a shootout, when they show up for the qualifying for the sprint race, that's when Parc Fermé, the sprint Parc Fermé starts. So they show up, they do free practice, then they show up for qualifying. As soon as they get in there, Parc Fermé condition exists for sprint. So they qualify, they can't touch the cars until
that makes sense.
After the sprint race. Okay. So after the sprint race, then it's opened again and they can make adjustments and setup changes for the main event qualifying on Saturday and for the race on Sunday.
So they're basically really now just running 2 races.
Basically. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I agree that locking the cars for the entire weekend after just 1 free practice session was silly.
Was it?
And opening this up changes, in qualifying and the race is the right thing to do, as it is the main event. So being locked into a free practice initial setup for the entirety of the weekend is ridiculous.
It's not helping anybody, right?
It's not, given the qualifying and the race are the main event, not the sprint, right? And so I think that was tough. So the reason for free practice sessions is specifically that, to dial in the car for qualifying in the race, not to aid it in making it more random for sprint races. Right. So it was silly to do that to begin with. The only way this could be improved is to eliminate the sprint race altogether. But that's just my opinion.
Or have just 1 qualifying.
Yeah.
Like MotoGP does. Have 1 qualifying for both and then.
Right. I feel
I agree.
Yeah. I just feel like each time an F1 car races, it should be for something, right? And not just a handful of points out of sprint race. The sprint is purely for entertainment purpose. It detracts or marginalizes the actual race, which should be king of the weekend with all the sessions leading up to creating an optimal race, right? And I just think the sprint clouds all that. So,
I mean, especially because it's not like it's going to be in MotoGP. Cat, calm down. She apparently forgot how to stand. I don't know what happened there. Well, I don't know if we'll get a 3rd one. Who knows? Anyway, in MotoGP, like the sprints really produced an interesting season last year. There is no Martin that's going to show up in Formula One. So, right, like it's not like, tire deg is a big problem. That's a strategy in Formula One, just like it is in MotoGP. But because MotoGP doesn't have pits, pit stop mid-race, that makes such a difference in how they race and what tires they pick and how you run the tires in a way that it doesn't in Formula One. It's still, guess what? Max Verstappen is still going to win. There is no Martin in Formula One. So it just isn't as interesting, even though I was against it in MotoGP. And I'm still against it being at every race, because do we really need 40 starts in a season? Probably not. But I just don't know. Maybe Brazil. Maybe we just have them at Brazil and, I don't know, in Japan or something and be done with it. Austin. I don't know. There's just too many.
I agree. I just think, I don't know.
It's just too much. I'm just exhausted every time. Like I mean, because they were, all right, so they were about to get in the car launches, but they were just talking to Aston Martin, just had theirs. So they were interviewing Fernando Alonso. And one of the things he was just like, well, I could race until I'm 50, except there's so many, the season's so long now. Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah,
I don't race. I'm in my 40s and I'm done. Like, this is too exhausting. And I just sit on a couch. Like, I feel you, Alonso, man. I don't know how you're going to race till you're 50.
Right.
That seems nuts.
Right.
I
was thinking about it over the weekend on a sprint thing, and I was thinking I need to write an editorial piece on what I think we should do for if you're going to do the sprint racing. And I was thinking about it over the weekend. And I thought, how would I change it to make it more interesting? And I thought, what if we had, instead of a sprint race, we had a Noah race? And bear with me here. Here's what I'm thinking.
Okay. All right.
You got 10 teams, right? Okay. 10 teams, 2 cars apiece. So what you do is you go and you start at the very bottom, 10th place and 9th place. All right. 10th place has 2 cars, 9th place has 2 cars. All right. So what you do is you make this race for serious constructor points only, which changes the money. The driver's points didn't change anything. It's the constructors that change it, right? So what you do is you take the bottom 2 teams and you put them on the grid, and those 4 cars start, and they're racing each other for 20 laps. But after 4 laps, the next 2 teams, 4 cars come out onto track, and once they cross the checkered flag, that's go for them. Those 4 are racing each other, and then the other 4 are racing each other, and so on. But what it does is every 4 laps, it adds more traffic, more DRS potential, and it gets a little more crowded. After the first 2 pairings, the 10th and 9th place run 20 laps, that's their race ran, and they pull in the pits, and then it gets fewer and fewer cars and leaves only the top 4 cars really to battle it out.
Right.
But then you pay out serious constructor points like 10, 8, 6, and 4, right? But each of those bottom teams are assured some serious points, right? And now all of a sudden you got 9th and 10th place battling out for 20 points if they can, or 18 points if they can finish out of the 4. And it's a head-on sprint battle head to head for those 4 cars trying to gain points. And that starts to add up if you're Haas, if you're Stake, if you're Williams, right? Those points start to add up, and all of a sudden I'm not in 10th place. And by all these sprint races, I got up to 8th place because I did really well in the sprint races, right? And they make them meaningful. And then you've got some traffic out there, but everybody's racing their own race, So I don't know. I need to think that through, but that's my concept.
But I think that would be good also because we all, like you worry about the Mick Schumachers of the world, right? Like,
yeah.
Right? He ends up at Haas. If he never gets another ride, what is his legacy, right? Like, I think we all think he's better. I mean, I think we all think he's better than that now. How good we all think he is, that's a different story, but he's definitely better than his run at Haas. But if you were able to do that, that would require somebody like Gene Haas to invest some money, because you're going to get your sponsors out there. You're going to get your TV time. You're going to get talked about.
Right.
So you're going to want to not just be some trundling team in the back. That's not going to be enough for you. And then that would be bonus for somebody like a Mick Schumacher to actually get some shine. It wouldn't just be trundling around at the back of the field all the time.
Yeah.
I think that's
Paul just texted me. He said he just arrived at Bathurst.
Man. We just started the podcast, so it's
I know.
fine.
I just sent a picture of my screen with you on it, and I sent that to him.
Hey.
We're live, folks. So anyway, yeah, I think I don't know. Watch the space. I'll try to get my thoughts together and flesh it out a little bit. It might be interesting. I don't know. Maybe stupid. I haven't thought through all the downsides yet. But neither did
don't edit
F1.
yourself. Just they surely did it. That's never stopped Dominicali. That's never stopped Formula 1. Just put it out there, right?
Yeah, just throw it out there. What the
if
hell?
it's good enough, if it's good enough, longtime listeners, Stefano Dominicali will steal the idea, and then you'll know it was good.
Yeah, exactly. So don't anybody steal that, and I've date stamped it on this podcast anyway. So
that's right.
So anyway, all right, let's now talk about breaking news. Oh boy, Grace. This just in, car launches galore. We've had several car launches so far. We've had Haas, Williams, Steak Sauber, whatever they're called, Alpine, V-Carb, and Aston Martin so far. And that would be Visa Cash App Red Bull.
Can I just say that their like Twitter handle, it just looks like a jumble of letters now.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Because it's like Visa, Cash App, Red Bull. Like, what is this jumble of letters? Because, it's just, it's a Twitter handle. So it's just one word, right? All jammed together. I'm like, wow, this is the worst thing I've seen so far. Like, what is this jumble?
It was funny. We did the last podcast, and that was, I think, the day they launched their car. And everybody was talking about their name or whatever. And I just, not that this is genius, but I just did an acronym of
V-Carb.
Their letters, right? Because it was Visa, Cash, App, RB. And I thought V-Carb is what I'm going to call them. And now everybody is calling them V-Carb, which is great. Because, like I said, it wasn't like a genius move. Anybody could do that.
It's because they listened to the show. They stole
the show. See,
Mitchell Mom totally stole it. I heard it.
That's exactly right.
Listened to the show. I knew it.
Yeah. The marketing department at Visa said, V-Carb, we like it.
I'll just wait till Minarbi catches on. It's only a matter of time.
Minarbi. I like it. Let's see. Now, Ferrari will be tomorrow. And with Mercedes and McLaren on the 14th, same day.
Okay. Oh,
and then
nice.
You have Red Bull on the 15th. So those are the remaining teams. Ferrari tomorrow, the whatever it is tomorrow. What the hell is tomorrow?
The 13th.
13th. So Ferrari on the 13th.
Hey, Todd.
Yeah.
Wednesday is Valentine's Day, sir.
Yeah. That's right.
I'm just saying.
Thanks for reminding me.
It's the 14th on Wednesday.
I totally forgot. I got a wife and 2 daughters I got to go out and get something for. Thanks for reminding me. So,
I'm just putting that out there. That's why I know that Wednesday is the 14th.
I know. I got to decolonize my head. It's just terrible. So I've got the 13th for Ferrari, 14th for McLaren, Mercedes, and 2 teams, McLaren and Mercedes, and then finally Red Bull on the 15th. Which all leads me to the big question. Many believe they should. Oh no, I'm in a different thing. Who do you like? I know I was reading notes. I'm all over the place, man. This, folks, is the Stygian hell-like existence I am living right now.
This is great. This is the best show so far. It's almost as good as 2 shows ago when you had your Arby's rant. This is great.
I know.
We'll fix it in post. It'll be fine.
I'm still over here in La La Land because my Chiefs won the Super Bowl, and I have no idea how we did that.
I expected this morning that you would have
but.
You would have just been like, Grace, we're not doing a podcast tonight. Like,
I know.
We only twice a year don't do a podcast. This would be the 3rd, right?
Yeah, right. And everybody's like, oh, you're on the Chiefs band. No. I was born and raised in Kansas
not
City.
true.
I have been a lifelong Chiefs fan. I suffered through Bill Kenny, Steve DeBerg, all the, Montana, all of that stuff. I was watching when I was an itty bitty boy with Lenny D and Jan Sinnerud, and Bobby Bell gave me a piggyback ride once time when I was a little boy. And yeah, it was great. So no, I've been a Chiefs fan all those years, and for decades I suffered as a Chiefs fan. So elated I am. So here's what I want to know. Who do you like so far? Is there enough raw carbon fiber for you out there? If I'm honest,
No.
I'm tired of all the raw carbon fiber and just the highlight pinstripe colors. And I'm also, to be honest with you, I'm tired of the matte finishes. We need some vibrant color and painted cars back on this grid. And for that reason only, I like the V-Carb car the best. It's vibrant blue, which Alpine can't seem to go to the store, the Home Depot, and find French Racing Blue.
No,
it's not hard to figure out the Pantone color for French Racing Blue, you dorks. And they won't do it, being a French team. I don't know why. But V-Carb is finally some vibrant blue, shiny, and I love it. But who do you like so far, Grace?
Well, I like Aston Martin because that's who Fernando Alonso is riding. It's, whatever car he's riding in, I'm going to like mostly.
Sure.
So that's fine.
It's a good looking car.
It is a good looking car. And
I
have hope for them this year. I think this will be a good year for them.
Yeah.
I'm interested. I'm intrigued by what they got.
Yeah.
And Also, I liked Fernando. I mean, he had so many great quotes in the interview, but my favorite, the one I think I'm not going to use at work, which is, I'm going to be successful in the future. Not this team is going to be successful in the future.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be successful in the future, you know? So like whether or not he ends up at, you know, Mercedes or something like that, he's going to be successful in the future. That's
Did you get the little jibe he had for Lewis?
Oh yeah, like
Well, that
that's his
wasn't
dream now.
childhood dream 2 months
That's
ago.
news to me. Yeah, it was great. It reminded me of that press conference where he was like, Did you know that they switched drivers? Like, did you know that was his dream?
Yeah. No,
So, but from now on, that's going to be like, not the future of this project is successful, just me. I'm going to be successful in the
That's
future.
so good.
I like this perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know,
great.
Alonso, he's great for these things. And so,
He
I
is.
did like his jab at Lewis. Sure. Why not?
Yeah, it was
I
funny.
enjoy that.
It was good. So far, Grace likes the Aston Martin, which it is. It's a very good looking car. I will admit.
I also think,
the V
I'm
car.
sorry.
Yep. Go ahead.
yes, I said this last season, but when, right, steak, kick, stick, Sauber, whatever they're going to end up being called, you can't be green. We already have a green car. I think that they should have to pick a colored dot, and that's the color for your car.
Yeah.
I can't. No more blue, no more green. You have to pick a new color so I can tell you apart. Don't pick red, that's Ferrari. Don't pick orange, that's McLaren. Come on.
I was
some
like,
different colors.
I had a total momentary lapse of reason. I was on Twitter when it launched. I said, awesome. That's a green car. That's great. It's about time we get a green car back in the grid. And somebody said, what
We
color
have
is
one.
Aston Martin? And I was like, I didn't
Green.
even think about Aston Martin. But it's such a muted version of green. They always say it's British racing green. It's a matte finish, dark green. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. But you forget it's green. It's just this dark, matte sort of thing.
They should have to pick for a bag what color dots
We
are going
need
to be.
yellow back on the grid, Grace.
Yes,
Like
Jordan,
Eddie
what are you
Jordan.
doing?
Yes.
Yellow would be great.
Yellow would be
Yellow's a great
awesome.
color.
Remember the Buzzing Hornets?
Yeah, I think that would be great.
That would be great. We need some yellow back on the grid, man.
Yeah, and there isn't a yellow team, so then it would be good when they show them on the track map.
And I know we had Renault, and they had some yellow, but it was kind of a combination of black and yellow. But
That was a while ago.
yeah, it was. That was
As when they
ago.
they were interviewing Ricciardo, and he was just like, that team. I mean, because he was at Renault, but now they're Alpine, but they're still Renault. He's like, well, whatever their name was.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, whatever.
I don't know. It's like I'm sure this is true at every company, but it's like org charts are always like three to five initials, and so it's like, office JXGK. I don't know what those letters stand for, and I'm not going to learn what they stand for, because as soon as I learn it, you're going to change the org chart, and they're going to be a whole new set of letters, and I'm still not going to know what that office does, because none of those letters actually are like, because it's all like thought leader mumbo jumbo. None of it is, I send letters, or I am HR, or whatever. Like, it's never straightforward. It's like some sort of HR mumbo jumbo is what all these offices are. So that's how I feel. Like, why will I will not memorize what your office is.
And
I will continue to call you the old office. It's fine.
It's like Dave in our audience said, it's not easy being green. And it's not, you got Steak, which is that vibrant day glow green. You got Aston Martin, which is such a muted green. It's hard to see the green. And you're right. We just need full green car, which would be good.
Yeah.
I still think some adventurous person like Haas ought to do like a turd brown car.
Truth in advertising.
Yeah, just brown. Truth in advertising. Yeah, just a brown car. Why not? Like a 1977 Ford, Limited or something with a Landau.
Oh, they should make it like fake wood paneling.
Oh, like a Woody. Yeah. Like the old Country Squire station wagon. Yeah,
that is exactly.
truckster.
That would be great. That would be great.
Yeah. Steven says like UPS sponsorship. See, you could do the whole brown car. That was one of UPS's better sponsors. Remember they did NASCAR and they wanted Dale to drive the UPS truck. Because I'm not driving the truck,
Yes, that was
funny.
Yeah. back when I watched. I know who Dale Jarrett is.
Yeah, well, yeah, I didn't know.
I know who Dale Jarrett is.
Okay. Now, let's talk about Mercedes.
Son of Ned. Yeah.
Yes, I am. Dale, son of Ned.
That would be great. Except for Junior, he would be son of Dale. Not as catchy, but
Dale, son of Ned, killer of small animals.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Mercedes. Now, last week, you'll know I went on this big diatribe where I said Lewis leaving Mercedes is the greatest thing for Mercedes, and I stand by that. I had people asking me if I was crazy. No, I'm not crazy. I think it's the best thing for Mercedes. However, this empty seat has really thrown a spanner in the works, right? You got an empty seat at one of the top teams. You got drivers right now. They're calling right now. Hello, Toto. This is Esteban Ocon. Remember me? I was part of the Mercedes Junior Driver Program. Heard you got an open seat. My contract's up at the end of this year. Right?
He's the original Kimi Antonelli.
Yes,
yeah, right.
Yes. So there's a lot of that happening. Hello, Toto. This is Mick Schumacher. I'm your reserve driver over here, and I'm available.
I'm standing right beside you as we speak. Hi.
Look behind you.
Menacing you. Mick Schumacher menacing would be great.
It's important that you believe me. The response is, look behind you.
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
If anybody gets that reference, I'll be really surprised. And what movie that came from. All right. So Mercedes, there's been a lot of discussion about who might fill Lewis's seat in 2025. And this has started the 2025 silly season very early this year. It's a legit question though, right? Very legit. And one that has many folks pondering the thoughts of such gambits as Fernando Alonso going to Mercedes, right? Right. A return of Sebastian Vettel going to Mercedes. Like Schumacher, maybe he ditched F1 a little too early. Maybe he was kind of asked to leave by Aston Martin, and so he's coming back, right? Alex Albon is another name being thrown out. Esteban Ocon, a junior, part of their junior program, even a junior driver that they may have in their program. Mercedes has a very interesting choice here. And all of their eggs is going to be in the George basket, of course. But what would they take a punt on a junior driver for development like they did with George when Lewis is there, right? I could see that as a prime option for them, something they may want to do long term. Many believe they should replace Lewis with another champion like Alonso, but I'm not sure if Toto would make that move, if I'm honest.
Okay.
I was just going to say, although Fernando is driving exceptionally well, he has George. Toto has George. And they have to think long-term at this point. So I don't think Alonso or Vettel would be that sort of long-term thinking that they should be thinking for that seat because they've got George, right? Albon, I think, is a very interesting choice if you feel you don't have a play for Lando or Oscar. I think Lando or Oscar would be a very good choice for them. Very few are talking about Mick Schumacher, and I'm not 100% convinced Ocon would be the right move despite his history with Mercedes.
He's not going to pick Ocon.
I don't think so either.
He would have picked Ocon a long time ago if that was really what he was going to do.
Yeah. I'm not seeing that happen either. So who do you all feel might be the selection?
I think I would go young. I think I would go either, send Kimi Antonelli to Williams for a year and then bring him to Mercedes, sort of like you did with George, stick him at Williams for a little bit to get his the rust off, the patina off, and then he can show up at Mercedes, right? I think that's going to see legs somewhere else. I could see that because you're right. You want to think long term, and then that way you can really continue to support George, and there isn't necessarily a direct competition. Now, you could have a Lando-Oscar situation, right? Yeah. Where Oscar came in his rookie year and is doing very well against Lando. Right. But, you kind of give George his space. I think that if you bring
he's
in
deserved it.
Alonso, you're just stabbing George, right? Like that just seems. And Alonso, even if Alonso does race, so he's 50, he's what, 42 right now? Like he only has a couple years. Why would you put? You'd have to be a team like Aston Martin that's really going to benefit from having, a champion like that at your team. I just don't know that Mercedes needs that benefit in the same way that Aston Martin does.
Yeah, I agree with that. 100%. I don't think Mercedes does. I think George has earned his place, and I think he's proven to be as competitive as anyone else on that grid. I think George is your guy. I think they pull in a junior driver or get an Albon or somebody like that, or Oscar if there's an exit clause, and Mark Webber can get him out of McLaren.
Sure.
I think that those would be good moves, but let us know who you guys think they might replace. That would be interesting to know.
Yeah, I think
opinions
that's.
are.
Although I really, as much as I like Carlos Sainz going to Aston, so you could have Alonso and Carlos together. I also like the idea of Alonso going back to McLaren. Like we'll put Oscar at Mercedes, and why not? Third time's a charm, buddy. Like we'll just stitch you to McLaren again. Maybe you can do it this time.
Yeah, Carlos is the one that I think if I was Toto, I might do Carlos.
I think that would be very interesting.
Carlos plays well with others. He played well with Lando. He played well with Charles. He's a good
George
team. I think George would get along with him. I think Carlos would fit in there pretty well.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't surprise me. All right.
Okay.
In other big news, like 10-year news, Silverstone. F1 just inked a new deal with Silverstone for the British Grand Prix. And this is what Stefano had to say about this deal. Quote, "I'm delighted to announce the British Grand Prix will remain on the calendar for 10 more years with this agreement," said F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali. Quote, "Silverstone is an iconic venue at the heart of F1 history, and as it approaches its 9th decade hosting Grand Prix, the event continues to attract fans from around the world for fantastic racing on track and for the amazing fan experience off it. I would like to thank Peter Digby." Peter Digby.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Peter Digby.
Yeah, it's a great name.
Yes.
Peter Digby.
Ron Buckley.
British.
And the BRDC, as well as Stuart Pringle. Peter Digby, Stuart Pringle. Could those names be any more British?
No. That is the greatest set of British names ever.
It is. It's almost like a British detective agency from the 60s. Peter Digby and Stuart Pringle. Digby and Pringle. Yes. It's like Inspector Morse, but it's, Digby and Pringle. And the whole...
Or they're like the opening act for the Beatles or something, right? Like,
yeah. Digby and Pringle. I like it. And the whole Silverstone team for their hard work and dedication to take the British Grand Prix to new heights. And I look forward to working closely with them as they look to further improve the facilities, hint, hint, nod, nod, wink, wink, and fan experience over the next 10 years, end quote. Now, what I will say, that's a great move, Silverstone. Of course, this is obvious to anyone with half a brain. However, I think this might finally put to bed that constant rumors of a London street course race. All right? So let's just stop talking about it. We don't need it.
You have multiple tracks in that country that you could go to.
Right.
You don't need that.
And you'd be taking away one of the stalwarts. We always joke and have for years now that anytime there's a race at Spa, the obligatory comment is always thrown out multiple times over the weekend. Did you know it could be raining on one side of the track and not the other? It's just ad nauseum. And Silverstone provides us, did you know this used to be a World War II bomber base? Yes, yes, we knew it.
We know. Yes,
the big runways in the center of the track kind of give it away, but, whatever.
Yeah.
And did you know it's really windy up? Yes, we knew that. Go on. Move on. Yes. So anyway.
And you know what happens if you put a wheel in Cops? Yes.
Yes. If you
put a wheel in Cops.
And a real strong wind can blow the wing off. Yes. We knew that. Yes. So anyway, I guess what I really am trying to say is this. Big applause to to the British Grand Prix and all the folks at Silverstone. Well done. Great to have you for another 10 years. It is as it should be. Now go get Spot for 10 years. All right. And finally in the news.
Okay.
Breaking news, Grace. My goodness. My, oh my. The FIA, keep your eye on the FIA, folks. I'm not saying they're on suicide watch, but may have a heart murmur or something that needs some constant monitoring over there. The FIA, as they have yet to make any move on the Andretti issue, and it was announced that the governance and regulatory director, Peter Ketterer, and the head of commercial legal affairs, Edward Floyd, both of whom had a hand in the current Concord Agreement negotiations, are leaving the FIA. This follows other departures of key personnel such as Tim Goss and Steve Nilsson. So there's a bit of a mass exodus going on over at the FIA. Not to worry, says the FIA and Mohammed bin Sulayem. They are in a restructuring process under MBS, but I suggest that the FIA is bleeding talent under the weight of a leader who has not captured the hearts and minds of the teams or F1.
So are the Washington Wizards. Like, what is this? Like,
we're restructuring, man. We're a young team.
Trash.
With the FIA's, the reason I say watch this is because I know that the FIA's tentacles, they have their tentacles in just about every aspect of motorsport in the EU, not just F1, but every form of motorsport in the EU. And the timing is really bad for a leader who has lost the support of all the stakeholders. And this could mean an opportunity for the hyenas to move in on the kill of a weakening FIA and their role, or at least challenge or dissolve their role and authority in the motorsport world if MBS gets outmaneuvered by Liberty and the teams and the other sports. So it also makes the upcoming Concord Agreement for 2026 a huge, huge issue, and most likely one where the teams in F1 will try to unravel themselves further from the legal authority the FIA has over the series. So this, I don't want to overplay it, but this is a huge, huge deal, folks. Remember, the FIA, it is their sport. They just leased the commercial rights for 99 years. That's what Liberty bought. But now you've got Liberty and F1 moving in, calling the shots, creating the technical regulation, telling the FIA what the cars are going to look like with Ross Brawn and Pat Simmons. They're running the show. They denied Andretti. They're out doing deals with new tracks. I mean, I don't think that there's any communication or love lost between F1 and the FIA right now. And MBS, I think, is doing more damage right now to the FIA. And the people at the FIA, the long-term board and stakeholders, need to give some serious thought about this, because none of this stuff would have happened under Max Mosley. And a lot of it probably wouldn't have happened under Jean Todt. So tenuous times over the FIA, Grace.
Sure does sound that way.
What news from Gondor?
I think that sounds terrible. I think that's a lot of people that they're just leaking, considering, sure, in any given year, I'm sure there's some number of people like, all right, I'm gonna go do something else now. I'm gonna have a successful year. But I just think that this seems like a lot, and it's names or positions that are important. It's not just like, oh, that guy over there or that person over there. So I think that there's something to be concerned about going on here. And I think that, bin Sulayem has had a rocky tenure so far, right? And so
been very rocky.
Sort of, it's beyond like, he's had his first year at Haas. We were expecting a little bit better at this point. He's Logan Sargent. Like, you're into year 2. We expect something more from you, not just,
weighing the drivers after the race. Anyway, watch the space, folks. This is going to get pretty chippy, I think. Let's do some Albin's Cats, because we can. Oh, yes, it's that time. Yes, sirree. It's that time, Grace. Hit us with some of your choice Albon's Cats.
Well, no surprise. My Albon's Cats this week is nominated almost entirely by MotoGP because I've only mentioned them 3 times in the show already. I know that's surprising. But so first of all, you may remember last week I talked about the little NASCAR miniseries that I still haven't watched anything beyond the first episode. Yeah. However, I did watch the first episode of MotoGP put out this series, and it's called There Can Only Be One. And it was behind the paywall. So as a MotoGP fan who buys a streaming service, I could watch it. But now it's on YouTube, right? It's in front of the paywall. I don't know what you people are doing right now. Stop what you're doing. Unless you're driving, maybe you shouldn't stop. But otherwise, when you finish this podcast, go watch the first episode of There Can Only Be One. That, because it's it leads up to the first race. And that first race, as we discussed here, was like every storyline was blown up by the first turn of that first sprint, right? And so it was just like, it was great. So if you're like, well, this MotoGP thing, I don't know, watch that episode. I haven't watched the other 4 episodes yet because that first episode is great. And so if you need a refresher before we start into the MotoGP season, that's where you start. And so I thought it was great. You get to see Marquez going from great to not great in one race, and Oliveira and Bastianini, and like, it was just like in that first sprint race, every storyline we had coming into the race was gone. So, yeah, it's great. Cool. And not just because I'm a MotoGP fan. I'm just saying it was pretty exciting. So,
I thought we were talking about there can only be one. The head, which at this time has no name. I know his name. It's Clancy Brown, the Highlander. Come on. Anyway, okay. There can only be one. Yeah. Good point.
But anyway,
I didn't know it existed, and I'm going to go watch it.
It just went to YouTube. So just go watch it. It's now in front of the paywall. And then second, I wanted to give a shout out to our friends over at MotoPod, who you may remember. Jim over at MotoPod. There you go. So, hey Jim. Yeah, right. Long time. He listens to the show as well. He always reminds me that, he's been listening since, the episode where I tried to watch WRC and share it with everybody. That was a great episode.
Yari Mati Lapala. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That was great. Good times. And so, so if you are interested in MotoGP, or you're not interested but want to be interested, I highly recommend MotoPod. I think Jim and Rich are doing a great job over there. And he asked me to do a little show, a little bit. Not surprising to anybody who listens to this show, but we were like, we'll just do like 20 minutes. 3 hours later, it's now its own podcast. So. Because just like this one, I said, how long do you want to do this? Oh, Jim's like, like 20 minutes. We'll just stick it on the end of, Rich did some interviews and that'll be great. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's its own show. But anyway, so I highly recommend MotoPod, not just because I did an episode, but give them a listen. And, we're going to meet up with Jim when we're in Austin in April, and, good times will be had. So,
sweet.
Give it a listen.
That's awesome. Are you ready for some no shit headlines?
Always. Highlight of the show.
Okay, here we go. First headline. F1 champ Jenson Button in legal row after fraudulently selling prized 1970s Ford Bronco.
Whose Ford Bronco did he sell?
Presumably, you'd think it would be his.
Well, I mean, it wasn't OJ's. I mean, like, whose Ford Bronco is this that we're talking about that this is an issue?
I don't know. But it would be cool if Jensen owned OJ's white Bronco.
I mean, I guess it wasn't OJ's. But, I think you get the point here. That would be a crazy story, though, somehow. But why does he...
I don't know. Some of these, I refuse to click on them and go read the story to figure it out.
Somebody just needs to know. Somebody needs to tell us, because I'm interested, but I also don't want to click on these headlines. I want to know why he has a Ford Bronco from the 70s and why it's an issue that he wants to sell it. It's yours, dude. Sell
it. Next one up. 7 Kardashian-style scandals that plagued Christian Horner's Red Bull... ... cheat claims to star raising rival's child.
What? Okay, remember earlier when you were talking about the sprints and I was like, I understand the individual words you said, but I don't understand how you just strung them together in a sentence? That's how I feel about this. I know who the Kardashians are. I know who Christian Horner is. I know he's been plagued by scandals. I know who children are. I don't really understand how these words are related to each other in this sentence. I don't know what would I, if you said to me, why don't you write just a few bullet points of what you expect the story to be about, Grace, and we're going to compare. I'm pretty sure they won't match. I have no idea what this is. What this would be about.
For SEO terms, you've got Kardashian in your title, Christian Horner in your title, Red Bull, cheating, and raising a rival's child. So they're talking about the cheating claim, the budget spend.
Yes.
And they're talking about Max Verstappen's girlfriend, who has a child with Daniel Kvyat.
Kelly Piquet, yeah.
Yes. And so you talk about making a meal out of that headline. Good heavens, that's the worst.
Claims to raise. So are they claiming that Christian Horner is raising Kelly Piquet?
Yeah, that's what it reads like. Or is it Kardashian raising a rival's child?
I don't know what the Kardashians have to do with this.
Nothing. It's just a, SEO, throw it in the headline.
I don't even know what a Kardashian-style scandal is. I think that would be either. Fun. Free word association there.
Yeah.
I think Kelly Piquet is doing a fine job, I'm sure. And,
I'm sure she is. And it's not like Max, it's not like she's a deadbeat mother that Max is having to raise her child. I think she's probably doing fine.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know. Yeah. I do love Christian Horner's children in the first Drive to Survive when they claimed that Lewis Hamilton was their famous.
Yeah, that was
driver.
great. That was
the
great.
best.
Yeah,
you kids,
Let's see. Next headline. Inside Jerry and Christian Horner's roller coaster love story, from controversial engagement to 80,000-pound ring and baby struggles. Oh, these people.
I don't want to know any of these things.
These people. If there's any entity that wants me to never be famous, it's the British press, because I wouldn't want to be subject to these ridiculous headlines. I'm sorry. It's amazing.
As if life isn't hard enough.
I know. And then more Christian Horner. Finally, Christian Horner is seen for first time as he faces D-Day grilling over Red Bull inappropriate behavior allegations. He's seen for the first time, like he's been in hiding, like he's on the run or something. Yes. And they had this picture of him through a damp window, and he's it's like this. It's unbelievable. I don't quite get it. It's all very weird.
Don't be British. That's what we've learned here. Don't be famous and British. Like, you can be British. That seems to be fine. But don't be famous and British.
You don't want to be Beckham, and British. It'll tear him apart.
I don't know. This seems like
crazy.
You're right. He's probably just like living his life or whatever. I mean, just in his house with his kids. And apparently Kelly Piquet's child, he's over there raising Kelly Piquet's child, with Kim Kardashian. Yes. Who knew? I don't know what's going on there.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Nobody knows.
I don't know either. All right. That does it for this podcast.
All right.
We're done with this baby. That's
exciting.
4 minutes. It says to be under an hour. Let me close up. We may get under an hour, Grace. This will be amazing.
I was just thinking, wait, I can talk for 5 more minutes. What are you talking about? We can fill this.
Let's totally nail it.
I can stretch it. I can do it.
We can do it. We can do a podcast in an hour. I got 3 minutes. All right. If you like this podcast, go over to iTunes or your favorite podcast player and give us some love. Give us a good rating. A huge thank you to those of you that joined us in the live audience during the recording, because you, my friends, are Patreon supporters. That's the only people that get the link to come in and join us live and interact with us. Great comments, Dave and Steven. Love it. As always, you guys have been here a few times and you guys are awesome. So thank you so much for doing that and for being a part of it. Also, a big thank you to the rest of our Patreon supporters. You can always support us. You can go to theparkformay.com. Just scroll down there. It says support us. Click on that. And you too could be as cool as Dave and Steven and come to our live show recording and interact with us during the show. As always. Also, we could not and would not do this podcast if it wasn't for our Patreon supporters. So thank you for that. And go to the website. Share your opinion. Just do it decorum and civility as always, and we will be back next week to do it all over again. And until that time, this is Todd, aka Negative Camber, saying so long, Grace.
See you next week.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Don't feel I've got to prove it all.